Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Fundraising Bidness Talk. It's so great to see everybody and have you all join me. This is our weekly show. We talk about current trends and best practices happening in the fundraising auction business. I want to encourage you to use the comment window and drop in your name and where you're tuning in from today. It'd be great to know where everyone's from. And then also feel free anytime in the show, feel free to drop in a question in the comment box. We'll take a look at it and see if we can't answer it for you right on time. So with that being said, hey, I want to share with you, I've got an exciting guest today. Turns into being a really good friend over the last 11 months as we've been navigating this new virtual world. And I think there's been some cool observations that I've noticed with respect to auction software, as opposed to when we started back in March. Prior to March a year ago, as a benefit auctioneer, I really didn't have much of an opinion on what auction software my clients were using. I was going to have a clerk there. They were going to record what we sold and the bid on the paddle raise, and we were going to turn it over. And how they managed it, I didn't really care. What I noticed really fast in this new virtual world was that I needed to be aware of what was going on the software, especially in this virtual world where I was going to be seeing the bids as they were coming in and things of that line. When we started doing online bidding, I got real sensitive to how online bidding executed, and then live streaming and being able to see monitors of what was actually happening in real time. And it's been an incredible journey. So I want to bring in someone who I feel has been really positive, I know, for my business and positive for a lot of folks' business. She's with Auctria. She's the marketing director. And I want you to know that she has a passion for helping groups exceed their fundraising goals. After using Auctria for many auction fundraisers, she joined the team to help others boost their auction fundraising for so many wonderful causes. And the beauty of what she has done, raised with Auctria, is what motivates her every day to help auction teams succeed. So please welcome, if you would, Miss Laurie Hochman, all the way from Boca, Florida. Laurie, what's going on? How are you?
Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much for including me in your playground here today. I feel like I'm with the cool kids.
Oh yeah, you're with the cool kids, that's for sure. It's so fun. I mean, I think I communicate with you, it seems like regularly, almost, at least weekly or whatnot, whether I'm watching one of your podcasts that you're doing for Auctria or I've got a question about the software or something I can do, and reaching out to you. You've been unbelievable, and the whole team at Auctria have been unbelievable in supporting not only the fundraising nonprofits, but also the benefit auction business and what we've tried to do as we have adapted to this new world. So thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us. Could you, just for those who are tuning in who are not familiar, can you give me a quick snapshot of Auctria and what makes it a little bit different than everybody else in the industry?
So I'm proud to share that Auctria is celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year.
Woo-hoo! Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Right, exactly. And through that, there's been 30,000 groups that have had auctions, millions upon millions of dollars that have been raised for amazing groups, whether it be a school, whether it be a community base, whether it be a foundation, corporate events, Giving Tuesday. You can do it online, you can do it silent, you can do a combination. The best part about Auctria, I love, and the feedback that we receive, is that Auctria is very, very flexible. You'll hear me say two things all the time if you ever hang out with me. Auctria is easy and Auctria is flexible. There's multiple ways to do things, because through that time, 30,000 groups, a lot of people said, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? And almost always the answer is yes. So all those could we, can we, should we's, almost all the time I can say, yes, that can be done.
Yeah, and you're so right. That is, I can tell from what, just my background in event planning, and then in doing this with fundraising auctions, the flexibility that you guys have created and the vision, quite honestly, because a lot of times you get into software programs and it seems to me like they've used, to use part of my old Texan in me, chicken wire to make it work, right? There's some little fix or hack that if you know what you're doing, you can make it work for that. But that's not the case with Auctria. You guys have done a great job of listening to us. You've had a great fundamental base of the program and the software, and to be able to do what you've done is just awesome. It's incredible. So what I want to visit with today is, I think a lot of our friends out there in the fundraising world are getting into the spring season and thinking about their fall events, and in many cases, whether it's they're recognizing that they have to rethink their entire event. And part of that rethinking is also their auction software, whether they've been using Auctria, whether they've been using somebody else. I'm going to do an event here in a couple of weeks. It'll be the first event that I've done twice virtually, right? They were my first virtual event. Right. They had never used auction software, right? And yep. we only had 36 hours to move that event to virtual. And so we went with it's just a paddle raise event. So we used their donate button on their homepage. But this year we included and introduced Auctria to them, and they're going to be using that. So, but I think this is the time of year people are thinking about that. And so I wanted to run through with you some of the things that folks need to be thinking about when they're deciding on what they're going to use for their auction software. And shameless plug here. I think please include your benefit auctioneer in that conversation, just because that person will have some needs if you're doing a live stream event, things of that nature that they're going to want to be involved in. And so make sure you ask them what they think also. But I wanted to hear several areas that I want to run through, Laurie, and get your opinion on. And one of them is flexibility and use. You already brought it up. As we think about this new environment, I think I'm a big advocate of incorporating online bidding with a live stream event of some sort, right? And that's what you're seeing that primarily be the most successful around the country. I mean, you talk to groups all over the place. And when we do that, one of the big subjects that came up right when this whole deal started back in March was, should we have one or two devices? Okay. And one of the things that I'm an advocate, and I want to hear your opinion, but I'm an advocate of two devices. And that's because I don't want to see people sitting on their couch next to their loved ones, staring down at a tablet or staring down at their laptop, right? I want to see people sitting on the couch, watching the live stream show on their smart TV, and then bidding with their phone, right? And I love it when a husband and a wife or two folks in a house have both have a bid paddle tied to the same account, right? That's great for me. But there are other folks and auctioneers in particular who are adamant about the one device solution. And what I loved about Auctria is you could do it either way. Is that correct?
You hit the nail on the head. Auctria can do both. It's up to you. What do you think your audience will appreciate? I do have a couple things that you want to think about. So some considerations. So if you want to do two devices, you'll have the exact experience that you've described. You watch the show on your big TV, you have your popcorn, you have your drink, and then you've got your bidding paddle, your phone, and you can bid quickly. You can tap to bid, tap to donate. It's super, super fast. And then you can put it back down and not be distracted. However, if for some reason you want to include your live stream on your desktop and you want to sit there in front of it, just like you and I are probably doing today, you can have that. And it would be a floating live stream box. And the person watching it can expand it, they can contract it, they can tuck it up to the side, they can move it down on the left hand, they can make it expand. So using something like Auctria gives the person, the bidder, the opportunity to do it either way. You as the admin don't have to pick one or the other and look into your crystal ball and figure out what they're going to like. However, if you give me opinion, I'm going to want to, like you said, be relaxed on my couch and watch, especially when you have groups that are doing presentations. I've seen a lot of symphonies. We've seen artists that are performing. You want to sit back and relax and enjoy that, and then bid when it's appropriate or donate when it's appropriate.
Well, and for the most part, that's a perfect example. I'm doing an event next Wednesday for a group who promotes youth into orchestra music, right? And they're incredible artists, and so we're going to be showcasing several of them, and they're going to be performing 4 or 5 minutes each time, and performing a piece. And so to me, it's an obvious that I'd rather see that and hear it, right? I'd rather hear it through my smart TV and the sound system that I have, as opposed to just the one device. At the same time, I think the one device is incredible to have that flexibility, like you said, because the user can decide if they're got to be somewhere else that evening, they got to go somewhere, they, for whatever reason, it's not conducive to have 2 devices. Because of Auctria, they can use the one, and that's awesome. That's just incredible. Hey, one of the things that I also want to talk about is online bidding, and
Yes.
And I think that it's my opinion, and I think we agree on this. You can definitely tell me otherwise. I think of auction software for galas and for benefits in the past. The majority of your peers in the industry were designed as what I would call event management. It was really more about making it easier for the volunteers to register people, to keep track of the items, to create bid sheets for the silent auction. All those things I would call event management type of solutions, right? And what I love about Auctria is you guys were based on and designed beginning with the online bidding model in place, right? And so when I think about the online bidding, one of the things that I've come to realize here in the last 11 months is our new environment is much more similar to what happens on let's call it the retail side of the auction industry. Okay. What my peers in the collectibles and antiques, cars, farm equipment, whatever they're selling in the auction world, they've been doing online auctions for 25 years, right? And so, but that wasn't the world we were in before in the gathering event, because we were talking about a silent auction that lasted 60 to 90 minutes, and then a live auction and a paddle race, right? Totally different. But now, this new environment, we're more closely related to the commercial side of the business. But Auctria has always been based on that. Is that correct?
Pretty much, not the full 10 years, but probably about 8 of those years. And it's funny, when everybody was pivoting because of COVID, we were already there. We already had 360-degree around, accessibility for mobile, for online bidding, as well as, like you said, for the event-based. And Auctria, you can imagine, auction is the base of our name, and it was built from the ground up for auction fundraising.
Right.
People were tired of paper bid sheets, and they were tired of trying to do Excel spreadsheets and Word documents. And our amazing development team developed Auctria, like I said, from the ground up, and has never stopped developing.
Right.
If you go into the Auctria platform, there's a little bell at the top, and it shows you the most recent events. And that's my job, to put up the most recent stuff that has come out from our development team. Let me tell you, they keep me busy.
I was going to say, we were talking before we came on the air. I think that, with my clients, I'm an admin on probably 10 different events right now in Auctria. And so I'm in it pretty regularly, and I'm shocked at how many times I go to that bell that I've just been in there the day before, and I go in, the bell's got 4 new things that you guys have done. And you know what? It's not only features, but a lot of it's tutorials and ideas. And I mean, when I think about that, I don't see that happening with all the other groups, right? You guys have been right on the cutting edge with with listening to feedback from your customers, and obviously 30,000 auctions you guys have run. You've listened, and then you absolutely execute it the next day. It's incredible, just incredible what you guys do. So when we talk about online bidding, though, there's a couple of things, and bringing it back to this comparison. Yes. I wanted to touch on a couple of things that I think folks need to be paying attention. And when they're considering auction software, make sure that these are included in the options, right? And one of them is what we call a soft close, or the term that we use in Auctria is anti-sniping, which is really the industry term. But I want to touch base on that. You know, you and I had a conversation early on about anti-sniping, and what it is, folks, is this is a feature when you have you're taking bids online and you're scheduled to close. Let's say it's 7 o'clock at night. You can set the parameters, but if someone bids within 5 minutes of that closing time, the software will automatically extend the closing time for that single item.
Correct.
An additional amount of time that you set, right? And it seems like that doesn't, why would you do that, right? I mean, you know, you hear that all the time, right, Laurie? Why would you do that? Well, if somebody's been involved with eBay or some of these other, you know, and even taking it back to the gathering event, in eBay, people can write scripts. There's actually websites that'll do it for you that will bid at the last millisecond before the closing time, right? And that's called sniping. And because of this feature that Auctria has, it's called anti-sniping. So that, you know, when you get that bid in the last 5 minutes, let's say, or 2 minutes, whatever you set it at, it'll extend it that amount of time. You and I talked, Laurie, early on about one of my clients that I showed. I'm always talking about this, and people look at me with a blank stare, right? Because they weren't thinking about it. But we went and looked at one event in particular. They had 31 items in their auction, in their online auction, 31 packages. 7 of them went to extra time, right? And then I did the math on what the increases in sell price was on those 7 items past the original closing time. Right. And it was over $1,000, right? And so they paid for Auctria just with that one feature. It's mind-blowing to me.
It is. And when you are the organizer of the event and you're watching your dashboard that evening or that afternoon or whenever you're closing, and you see those last items coming in, and you know that your trigger window, we call it our trigger window, if you hit that trigger window, and then you know that those are going to open, and it still continues, bang, 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 bang. I've seen items stay open another 30, 40 minutes where people are going back and forth. And then eventually it does close because it does top out. But you know what? That means you made more money for your cause. You're able to shelter more dogs, feed more people, educate more students. And it comes down to, you know, your donors and staying donor-centric and staying mission-centric and doing great things with those funds afterwards.
Absolutely. And it's funny, Tim Stewart, you know, Tim's an auctioneer. Tim's on both sides of the industry, does a phenomenal job with real estate, sells some personal property at one of the local auction houses regularly, but he's also a great benefit auctioneer. And it's funny how he chimed in on that. So yeah, thanks, Tim. You and I, him and I've had that conversation several times too, but you're right. It allows people to do more and further their mission than they ever would have thought, right? So that's fantastic. Go ahead.
My other favorite online auction booster is the proxy bidding.
Absolutely. Talk about that.
So with the proxy bidding, you can go ahead and set up your auction so that somebody can put a max amount that they want to bid. So if it's a pair of tickets to the hockey game and they know that it's a retail value of $150, but the item is starting at $75, I can say, hey, I'm willing to pay up to $150 on that. Then I don't have to babysit my bids. If somebody bids against me, the system is automatically going to bid for me against that, and then up and up and up. And it happens instantaneously as soon as I get outbid. So for you as an organizer, this is great because the more bids come in, the higher those totals go. For the bidder, they don't have to babysit their bid. They don't have to wait for a notification. They don't have to wait for an email.
Right.
And then if it gets to that tippy top, they either win or they get outbid at their final number and they can re-up their bid after that.
Right. And think about it, that was one of the big knocks on online bidding when we were in a gathering environment, is people thought they were going to be looking at their phones all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And the reality is they don't, because they use proxy bid, and they place that high amount that they're comfortable in, but they also don't feel like, they don't have to pay that amount if a bid doesn't get to that level, right?
Correct.
So it's a big positive, and it's a wonderful feature. It should be involved at all times. And and in this new window, where a lot of times we're bidding over multiple days, right? So, people are able to go in at their own time and choose whatever. We talk about soft closes and we talk about proxy bids. The other thing that I love about Auctria is the option to have a manual close. As a benefit auctioneer, that's incredibly important to me when I'm doing a simulcast and we're doing a live stream, because I want to control when that bid closes. And there's ways in other softwares to do that, pull out the chicken wire. But in Auctria with your live auction controller feature, it's so easy for me to say sold, and the person on our team who's there in the studio or wherever we're located to be able to put it in and mark it closed immediately. Phenomenal. So manual close. Are there other reasons that you're seeing people use the manual close option?
That's the most typical reason. And the best part about it is, as soon as that closes, it closes on everybody's device. And then you, as the auctioneer, can bring up the next auction item, and there's closure. And we know that it's time to move on to the next video, the next testimonial, the next auction item, the next paddle raise.
Right. And I didn't even really dive into it because there's so many features that I love about Auctria, but the live auction controller and the option for me to be able to control as the auctioneer what is on the screen of the app for all my bidders watching the program and participating in the event is just phenomenal to me. I mean, it's incredible that, and I want to make sure that I explain that, because people, we can use in the live auction controller. If I'm on live auction package number 1, I can push a button in the Auctria and it will put live auction package number 1 on everybody's device that they're watching or bidding on the event with, and it will show them what the next bid is, and away they go. They're just as simple as pushing a button. And in the virtual world, we talk a lot, Laurie, going back to March, and a lot of auctioneers were incredibly caught up in the concept of latency, right? And how much time it takes for what I say in the studio to actually reach the bidder. Okay. And I was never concerned about that. My concern was I can't see the bidder. So how quick can I get them to respond and get the information to me? Now, if they've got to fumble around and find where to bid, that's going to slow the process down. And I could cost an organization money if I don't wait for that, right? But in this environment with a live auction controller, as soon as they push the button, I'm shocked how fast I know, and it's on that screen. There's no refreshing the monitor. It's phenomenal. I mean, just crazy stuff.
And not only are you controlling it, you're actually monitoring everything also. It's actually multiple components. You've got that bid monitor. You can watch your lives. You can watch your donations at the same time. You can sort it top, bottom. You can radio button which ones you want to keep an eye on. So it gives you much more opportunity as an auctioneer to monitor the situation, versus when you were up on stage, you were doing one live auction and that's what was going on and everybody was hyper focused on that. Now you can have your eyeballs on multiple areas and be able to respond to that in real time. I'm sure you call out, your high bidders, you call out your high donors, and you give them that recognition and that engagement that they're looking for.
Well, it's changed our agendas, right? Because now we start with the paddle raise. We start with the appeal. And then I continue to recognize donations through the entire event, even through the live auction component. So what I do, just so you know, I have multiple monitors in front of me, regardless of where I'm at. But one of those monitors has a split screen, and it will stay on the live auction controller. And then the other half of the screen will be the bid monitor on donation only. So as we're taking bids, I can also see the donations coming in, and I can use that, quite honestly, to buy time. But it's also good. It's also good sponsor recognition, good donor recognition, that I can acknowledge every single donation that comes into the event, while I'm also taking bids on a live auction item. It's just it's phenomenal. What a great feature. And I there's so many times that I pull up Auctria and I go, I would have never thought of that, but now that I see it, it's like I have to have it. So yeah, and I get so frustrated when I have a client that's using another kind of software, and they're having to refresh, and so I'm waiting for that little spinny hourglass while I'm live on screen, waiting to find out if this person bid or not, and I'm watching that hourglass spin. And I never have to deal with that with Auctria. So it's phenomenal. And then, the other thing I love about, and I think everybody needs to have the ability to do, is for sale items, right? And so give me a couple of examples of what you've seen with the for sale items, and maybe explain what it is.
Well, how long do you have? Because there's a lot of ways to manage your for sale items. Obviously, for sale, you put it up, somebody buys it, right? However, there's so many ways to do it. You can do it is multiples. You can set your quantities. You can set that as, we see people buy it for VIP, for swag boxes, for dinner boxes, for virtual events. We see it for ordinary merchandise, t-shirts, cups, anything that you would want your audience to purchase. You can also set up your for sale as your raffle items. You can set up for sale items for items itself. For instance, you go to the juice place and they give you, 20 gift cards that are worth, $5. You're not going to put up 20 of them across your entire auction. That would be silly. You can put those up as for sale items, put them up for $5. They'll get snapped up in a second.
Yeah.
So you can set them as multiples, you can set them as singles. And then the best part about it is you can put up any sort of images that you want also. So you can brand it directly to that merchandise. You can brand it within your website. And then I think you had made mention before the flexibility of the website. So you can have a merchandise only page so that people can go directly there. And if they didn't find something they love and they want to bid on, but they still want to support you, merchandise is a great way to ring that register and fill that till.
Well, I'm going to give you. I'm going to test if I've had one of the most unique for sale items. Okay, are you ready? I sold pregnant goats.
Really?
So I have a group. In fact, Diana did the show with me here a few weeks ago, and Diana's with the Makindu Children's Program, and they run a children's center in Makindu, Kenya. And one of the things that's incredibly powerful for their organization is that they provide families and kids down there with pregnant goats, and then teach them animal husbandry. And that will teach those children how to benefit from that goat, right? They'll get the milk, it'll help their nutrition, but then they can also breed it, and then they will know all sorts of different things, right? And so I just want to know if that qualifies as maybe one of your more unique items. Is that, has anybody else selling pregnant goats out there?
I think that runs to the top of the list.
That's fantastic. Good. I'm glad I'm on top of something. That's fantastic. The other one, a creative idea, as you know, we're in Oregon. We're not quite as opened up as you guys are down in Florida, and we'll stay away from that subject. But one of the things that a lot of my groups have been really challenged with is procurement. And a lot of times, many of our schools have in the past created what we would call classroom baskets, where, the parents would come together within a school and they would buy classroom, create a package that we would sell, right? And maybe it had a camping theme or, whatever the theme might be. Okay. And people were really concerned about being able to do that this year. And so what we did was we did classroom donations. And so I set up a catalog for classroom donations in each class with the teacher's picture on it. And the parents went to the page and they clicked on that teacher's classroom that their kid was in, and they were asked to make a $10 donation, right? And then we're going to pool that money and use that to go out and buy things, leverage it to put together packages for the auction. Well, there's 300 kids in the school, and so you can do the math. We were hoping to generate hopefully generate $3,000 from that, and we didn't think we'd get 100% participation. So if we'd gotten 250, we would have been happy. As it turned out, we generated almost $10,000 for their event to go out and create an inventory that we could then put on sale, right? But it wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have Auctria that we were using, right, on almost like a year-round basis, that we were able to create this revenue to help the school create a package and leverage that revenue into even more money, right? We're using it to underwrite some consignment packages, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe we buy a consignment package that's cost the organization $1,000, but then we're going to turn around and sell it for $3,000. How cool is that? And that's only because we could do it with Auctria, right? So
absolutely. You don't want to move money from one pocket to the other. You want to use that money to accelerate and to maximize that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, and the way we've done that with a lot of this is that we've gone out into the local community, maybe a restaurant that has supported the school in the past and provided them with a gift card. We've actually sent parents or committee members out to that restaurant to buy that gift card. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they walk into the organization and they say, hey, you've been so gracious in supporting our auction in the past, and it's one of the more popular items we have, and we want to do it again this year. We know it's a tough time, so we want to buy that $50 gift card. And the restaurant owner looks at them like, are you serious? How amazing is that, right? In these tough times. And a lot of times the restaurant owner will add to it. Now all of a sudden, we spent $50 and we've got a $100 gift card, and we're not going to sell it for less than $100, right? Correct. So now we've used those dollars to leverage and make more. So you're right on with that concept. We definitely don't want to just move from one pocket to the other. So
absolutely. And then when you talk to those groups, if you explain to them and you put up your online auction kind of in advance, or you like your preview, I want to, not your preview catalog, keep that behind closed doors until you get it looking how you want, but you can have your pre-event website up, and you can show those donors and you can show them, hey, this is what you're going to look like. We'll put your logo up on the website and it'll click through to your website that you want, whether it be your menu page, if you're a restaurant, or if you're a therapist, wherever you want that to go. And so now you're bringing them value, and now they're associating themselves with a charity. And then when the auction opens, you want to share that back out with them so they can amplify that message. Now it's a win-win, and everybody's helping everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And website, that's a great segue into the next subject that I wanted to touch base with you on and promote for people to consider when they're identifying which auction software platform they're going to use. And if they haven't figured it out by now, they're not paying attention, because we all know who they should be using. But the thing that blows me away is the customization and the flexibility of the website from Auctria. I am the auction. When we started the deal back in March, there's a company that's extremely popular in our market, and when we went to virtual, one of the challenges that we had was identifying where to send the bidders. We couldn't send them to one location that they could see the live stream and be able to bid. And so you've heard me talk about the AP department, and our good friend Auctria fan.
Of course.
They stepped right in and started writing custom web pages, and they were based on the video feed,
right?
And then they were adding buttons to get us to the auction site, and that cost them money. And then, but the website Auctria has been able to do video all along. And your ability, I find the customization and information is just incredible with y'all's website.
It is wide open. And the best part about it is it's easy, is that if you don't want to do much, you can just pull up one of the templates, be out of the box and running. However, if you want to brand it, you want to change your colors, your fonts, put in images, put in videos, you can change the menu layout, how large your fonts are on there, the direction of which, where you want the menu items are. I mean, it is just wide open. Your catalog, you can do all sorts of catalog cards. You can do narrow, you can do wide, you can do immediate access where you can show the description, not the description. I mean, you could really go down that avenue for days and days and days. I actually suggest to groups, if you have somebody that's kind of graphic and's got that good artistic eye, put them in there. It's easy to use. It's all drop downs and drags. You just need that kind of artistic ability. And you can do some phenomenal things. If you follow us on Twitter, a lot of groups tag us on their activity, and you can look back through our profile and see some recent ones. And I mean, mind blowing. And you can match that up to your website, so it's branded. When somebody lands there, they're not landing at some random auction page. They're landing softly in your home for your event, for your charity.
Right. And that's what I always recommend is for folks to direct their guests to their organization page, because they're going to come back to that throughout the year, and then have a link right off that home page of their organizational page to the Auctria page. I see so many people that are, trying to communicate an auction page URL, and it's like, why do you do that? Right. Especially if they're putting it on the screen right here where you can't click on it on the live stream, or they're sending it on a hard copy of something. It doesn't make any sense to me. Let me ask you this.
QR codes for live streams also. If you want to put up a QR code, somebody can just pull their phone up and scan that pretty easily and get right into it also.
Absolutely. And let me ask you this, because this has kind of come to me in the last few months. I think in the past, people set up their auction webpage and left it, right? And I have gotten to where I am constantly modifying as we get through the process, right? For those clients, we are constantly modifying that landing page and the features that are available and what's for sale and what's not for sale and all those things. Is that common? And I mean, did Rob and the team have that in mind when they created it?
Absolutely. We see the organization activity happening in three parts. First, they're going to plan, then they're going to run, and then they're going to close. So while you're planning it, like you said, you want to put up your solicitation. You can ask for donations directly on the website. The schools, the this and that, they can put their information in. It lands on the admin's desk. You approve it, and it goes directly into the catalog. They can upload their images directly. It makes it easy. So yes, it's definitely a living, breathing document that is evolving. You have your for sales, you can have your sponsorships up there. And, as those start to sell, that's a good thing. Then other sponsors see that it's selling and they're like, I want to get on there. That's not a commodity type item. That's really a good value. And so, those continue to sell. Then you move to the part where you're going to flip the switch. You're going to turn it on, and then your auction is actually open. So you've been messing around with your auction catalog. You got it exactly how you want. Now you just drag it in and you put it in your menu, and now that's your front page. And then you can make that your home page. And then you go through the whole auction. It's open. You do your live stream on there, and then afterwards, that can live on. Put up your live stream. Show what you did, show how much you made, and then keep that donation information up there. People will watch back that live stream, especially somebody like the one that you were talking about, where there's a big entertainment value. People come back and watch that.
Absolutely.
And while they're there, give them the opportunity to be able to support you. So yeah, it is an ongoing, evolving piece. I think in order to maximize and optimize your event fundraiser. If you don't want to, that's okay too. It's totally up to you. Like I said, there's tons of flexibility. You can put into it as much as you want or not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the flexibility is I just can't say that enough times. If it wasn't Auctria.com, it should be flexibility.com. It's so awesome. And then, the communication abilities, I keep every day I seem to learn a different way that is available to us in Auctria to communicate. Obviously the texting, and obviously the emails, and somebody was saying something to me the other day. I said, well, you could always just export it and use Word if you don't like the editor, whatever it is, right? I mean, there's so many features. You've really thought about whether it's updates, statements, receipts, solicitations. It's all right there in front of folks, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know why? It's because we, as employees, run our auctions for our local charities also, just out of our heart. We volunteer also. So we're using this software for ourselves and for our communities also. So that's why we know how it feels. I know what it feels the night before it opens. I know what it feels the night it closes, when you're looking at your final number and you're like, yes, we can buy the computer for the kids. We can, you know what I mean? We feel it. We know it. We love
it. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, there's all sorts of communications. The texting is really easy. You can text to register. You can text to donate. You can set it up with your local area code. People will recognize it. It's not just some random 5-digit number. You ever see those and it's like, oh my God, did I punch it in right? It's local, it's your number. And then that's your number for, as long as you have your license. So people know that that's your text number.
Right.
It lives with you.
Yeah, and even if they put it in their contacts and put it as your organization, it's a phenomenal deal. How much are you seeing folks use the texting and it's kind of, I call it trendy, but what are your parameters or thoughts with respect to how often are people using it? A lot? Is it growing?
There's a couple different things. Frequently we'll have people say, oh my gosh, our people aren't tech savvy. They're not going to be able to figure this out. Well, you know what? Do they have a phone and can they text? All they have to do is type in the phone number and put in the word register, REGISTER. And then they'll instantly get back an access code and they'll be able to start bidding. So it's a great way to give people another way to do something. I always say there's always so many ways to do with Auctria. We saw a lot of it during Giving Tuesday. It was so easy to donate. Type in the word donate, DONATE. You don't even need the $sign. Put in the amount that you want to donate. Same thing. Goes in, you automatically get a payment link back, put in your credit card number, and you're all set. So we've seen it used a lot and in a lot of different ways. The custom texting is great too. If you have a group that is using texting a lot, you can actually do custom text outbound. Hey, auction is closing in an hour, live stream is starting in 15 minutes. So you can really maximize your messaging through the texting process.
Yeah, no, I've used that a lot, and even in the bid monitor, where you can send an instant message out to people that are participating. It's just phenomenal, the things that you guys have thought of, and then I got to touch on this feature. It wasn't on our little agenda, but it's probably one of, I think, the most powerful features of Auctria, and that is the ability to be looking at a catalog item. So I'm looking at a package on my screen.
Yes.
And I see a couple of social media icons up on the top right. When I click on that, it doesn't take me to Auctria's page, Facebook page. It takes it to my Facebook page, and I share that auction package with all of my followers, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know how it does it. Did I connect it at some point, or did it just recognize my email, or what does it do?
Yes, that's exactly what it does. And actually, that was one of the very first things that I asked our development people to do 6 years ago when I had started. I'm like, hey, can we do this? And they're like, sure, why not? And it used to be just Facebook, and then they added Facebook and Twitter, and I think Pinterest may even be on there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a great way for you to share those items. So if you have, Joe's Pizza Shop and you have their item and now you want to share it, you're sharing that exact item, tag Joe's Pizza Shop on there. Now it makes it easy for them to share it with their audience. Tagging and hashtagging, it's not just for the kids anymore. Right, you can really use it to amplify that message.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think where it's powerful is that, one of the things we notice in all of our Facebook feeds and our Instagram feeds and all those different feeds, there's a lot of fundraising going on right now. Right. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of invitations to fundraisers, and I see a lot of, hey, join us for this event. This is great. Join us for this, join us for that. But when I see that trip to Mexico pop up in my stream, I can feel my toes in the sand. Right. And now all of a sudden I click onto that one because I want to know who's got this Mexico trip in their auction. I didn't even have to have an affiliation with that organization. And now I'm looking at their catalog. But if you had just said, hey, we do great things for people, join us for our event, I may not have clicked on it. But because I saw something that was in the package that, all it took was that committee member or somebody to click on it and pass it out. Wow. It's an incredible feature. And I think it gets overlooked because I don't think, I think we're all, especially in this new environment, right? We always used to think we'd have a couple or 300, 400 people show up at our event. And now we're not sure, right? We don't know how many are going to show up. Correct. And so we've got to do a better job of marketing them on the front end. And that's an incredible tool. I don't know if anybody else that has that. Maybe you say they all do, and I just never noticed it, but I've never seen anybody else have that feature. I think it's just phenomenal. I know we're getting near the end of our time, Laurie, and so I wanted to put you on the spot. And you got any best practices or hot tips for the last 12 months that you've picked up in this new environment? What would you share with the group?
I would say keep your eyes open for people like Patrick and watch what they're doing. They are moving and shifting the paradigms, and they're using these tools in unique ways. I look at our website editor and we put it up there and we showed everybody how to do it. But then what comes back from these amazingly creative people is phenomenal. And there's no reason that you can't tap resources like Patrick and your event planners and your professionals to really elevate that. So just keep an eye on everything that's going on and take it in. So I would say do what's within your means also, so don't overcommit yourself. Create a plan and then execute on that plan and learn from it so that you know what you want to do next year, whether you want to add something, delete something, work smarter, work faster. And the more organized you are, the better chance you have of volunteers coming to help you because you're organized. Right. And then they'll come back again and they'll help you again and they'll bring a friend. So, these events can get bigger year after year after year, and you just get stronger, and your charity gets stronger also.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, I think those are great insights, and thanks for the plug. I always appreciate that. But one of the great places that I've seen that I've learned a lot, you started this group earlier this year, Facebook's group, Auction Team Talk. It's not even branded with Auctria, but it's clearly there when you're there. What a great place for people to share. One of the things that I see so much in this new environment is that we don't have any 30-year veterans of the virtual event world, right? And so a lot of times, in fact, I know that I've had several clients that called me to cancel. And I said, hang on a second, let's talk about this. Let me share with you what's going on in the industry. And they go, oh, wow, if we can do that, let's do it, right? But if I wouldn't have talked to them, they would have just canceled their event. And what does that mean, right? That means something doesn't get funded that year, and that's not a good situation. So I found a lot of, and I enjoy seeing some of the questions and some of the ideas. I try to respond if it's something I know about, but I've learned things too. So I'm going to encourage all the folks that keep track of this show and watch it, go ahead and get in that Facebook group, Auction Team Talk. I did say it right, didn't I, Laurie? Is that correct?
Absolutely. There's almost 500 people that are on there, and it's people like you, professionals in the industry, as well as gobs of organizers and auction teams that hang out in there, thus the name Auction Team Talk. We're close to 500. There's lively discussion. Honestly, it's one of the nicest pages on Facebook too.
Yeah.
People are so helpful and they're so kind, and they post links and they post photos and they post images. I put up a lot of polls, I put up a lot of tips, and it really is a great resource to either respond to somebody, watch somebody, or even start your own thread. I'm sure somebody will chime in and give you some help. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And so I think if you ask me with best practices and hot tips, it's got to be Auction Team Talk would be a great place, because that's what motivated me to start the show, was that I was just blown away with how much things change, it seems like, on a daily basis in our industry. And there's constant improvements and constant things that are changing. And so I started doing this, but I got the idea from the Auction Team Talk, because I think about how I might have answered a question or, something 6 months ago is totally different than I would now. So it's awesome. Hey, Laurie, thank you so much. And give my best to the whole team at Auctria. You guys are the best. I just can't say enough great things about what you guys have done and how supportive you've been of the nonprofit community and the auctioneer community, and done some great things. So good luck with your auction you got going yourself right now too.
I do have one going on for our local high school, but I wish everybody has bids that soar and goals that are crushed.
Yeah, you're the best. Hey, thanks so much, Laurie, for joining us. And folks, don't forget Auctria.com. Not with a comma, but with a look at there. I put a comma in there. No comma, it's a period, standard deal. And let's go ahead and check it out. Auctria.com. They've got phenomenal tutorials, phenomenal resources, and when you get in that Auction Team Talk, you're going to see all the webinars that Laurie does, and they are outstanding. So, Laurie, thanks so much for joining us today, and we really appreciate it. We wish you all the best.
Thanks for letting me come to your party, Patrick.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon. So, folks, that was Auctria and Laurie Hochman down in Boca Raton, Florida. So she's probably got a little bit nicer weather, although it's not raining today in Portland. It's a little chilly, but it's not like it is in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. So, hey, folks, a couple of things. I couldn't be more excited to announce next week. I've got a couple of great guests. I've got Darren Dees and Michelle Gilmore from Southern California. Darren and I both went to auction school together and also attended BAS, our Benefit Auction Specialist Accreditation class, together. Darren's a phenomenal fundraising auctioneer, and his good friend Michelle Gilmore, together they wrote a book called Eventology. And they're going to be joining us on the program next week at noon on Wednesday. That's noon on the Pacific Standard Time zone. And we're going to talk auction business, just like we do every week right here on Fundraising Bidness Talk. I appreciate you being here today. If there's any time that we can do something for you, please don't hesitate. Leave us a comment. We respond quickly, and we appreciate you joining us today. Have a great day, folks. Goodbye.